That the Negro all over the United States is tired of second-class citizenship, tired of being relegated to the status of a thing rather than a person. And I'm sure that if this problem isn't solved in the very near future, it can mean some very dark and desolate nights for the whole country.
On April 4th, 1968, James Earl Ray, an Illinois man with an extensive rap sheet, shot and killed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a preacher's son who rose to become perhaps the most revered civil rights leader in American history. Some historians allege there was a broader conspiracy into King's death. Every year around this time, people visit the place where it happened, the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee.
I was coming across the courtyard that afternoon. He said, "Jesse, you're late." He was an hour late. I said, "Doc, you're late." He said, "We're going to Reverend Kyle's home," and said, as if it were a big formal. "We're going to his home, and you don't even have on a shirt and tie." Dr. King, the prerequisite for eating is an appetite, not a tie. He said, "You're crazy." We laughed. We played that way. And they looked at Ben and said, "Ben, be sure to play my song." And he was shot.
A half-century has passed since the preacher's death, but his powerful voice continues to influence generations. King's message of equality through non-violent protest cemented him as the central figure of the civil rights movement. From the historic March on Washington, an event punctuated by his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, to a 5-day march from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery, when protesters demanding voting rights sustained beatings from state troopers.
We must not fail. Let us close the springs of racial poison. Let us pray for wise and understanding hearts. Let us lay aside irrelevant differences and make our nation whole.
King's influence ultimately led to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act a year later, monumental achievements in the push for racial equality, and he focused on some other big issues in the years right before his death. In 1966, he moved to Chicago and helped launch the Chicago Freedom Movement, a campaign to break down discrimination barriers in housing. King would lead one peaceful march in support of open housing in Marquette Park, an area southwest of downtown, which at the time was all white, and things got ugly. Racist counter-protesters hurled insults and objects. King himself was hit in the head by a rock but pressed on. He described the events up north as some of the worst displays of humanity he ever encountered. Though he's widely admired now, King wasn't always so popular. According to Gallup polls, in 1963, more people had a positive view of King than a negative one. But by August of 1966, his popularity tanked. 63% gave him a thumbs down. King emerged as an outspoken opponent of the Vietnam War, a multi-pronged conflict that claimed the lives of more than 3 million people, including 58,000 Americans. He delivered a speech in New York City on April 4th, 1967, exactly 1 year before his death. In it, King unleashed a scathing rebuke of the U.S. for its role in the war after he had faced questions about his silence on the matter.
The war in Vietnam is cruel because the war on poverty, invest, and hope is going into a killing field, and I cannot bifurcate my sense of justice. So leaders, some African American leaders say, "Well, you're on the wrong agenda." They begin to attack him publicly. Some pulpits closed in his face, and the press attacked him. And yet he was so principled until he said, "It doesn't matter. Say, I will speak and I will be heard."
When he gave his Beyond Vietnam speech, Dr. King mentioned the 3 triplets of evil: racism, capitalism, and militarism. And he felt that the country was moving in a direction that took an emphasis off of providing services for poor people and actually focusing more of its resources on a war economy. And so it was in that year where he began to develop this idea for this Poor People's Campaign.
In the years leading up to his death, King became an advocate for wealth redistribution, and he fought for improving income inequality. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, in 1963, about 36 million people, or 20% of the U.S. population, lived below the poverty line, though it improved in the years after.
The lack of income and jobs in our slums, the riots through which many American cities have suffered. As long as people are devoid of jobs, they will find themselves in moments of despair that could lead to a continuation of social disorders.
King called on the government to do more to help all Americans, not just black people, who struggled financially. And in the late 1960s, King helped spearhead the Poor People's Campaign, an effort to lift people out of poverty, an initiative that continued after his death.
So King decides he's going to have a Poor People's March in Washington, D.C., actually an encampment that did take place weeks after he was assassinated, so it was kind of one of his legacies. It brought together, women, minorities, all groups who felt, Native Americans, all groups who felt they were being cut out by the economic success that this country was having. They camped out on the National Mall, tents. It was kind of a bit of a disaster in that, it was muddy, there was infighting among the organizers, but they were trying to make the point and to remind people here in power in Washington about the plight of people who were disadvantaged economically, who weren't getting the opportunities that others were.
What's important to note about the Poor People's Campaign is that while African Americans were certainly at the forefront of this, he was still concerned about the fact that, in fact, in his book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, he states, what good is it if a man can sit at a lunch counter if he can't afford to buy a hamburger? So he recognized the economic issues that were facing African Americans, but he saw this as a problem that was pervasive throughout the nation.
In 1968, King also supported a sanitation worker strike in Memphis. The workers walked off the job after a malfunctioning compactor crushed to death 2 trash collectors. They also demanded better pay and improved working conditions. Violence erupted during one protest, running counter to King's message of peaceful resistance. On April 3, 1968, King addressed a crowd in Memphis, and he called for an economic boycott and urged people to continue speaking out, but told them not to resort to violence. It was in this speech that King delivered his prophetic ending.
We were not going to let one bullet kill the whole movement. And so from the balcony in Memphis in '68 to the balcony of the White House in '08, 40 years to the wilderness, we turned the corner.